Top 5 amazing people who cheated death. Number 5. Isidro Mejia. He's nail-free today, but in 2004, Mejia was doing construction work on the roof of a house when he fell. The fall didn't kill him, but the 631,2-inch nails that accidentally shot into his neck and skull certainly should have. He survived because the nails barely missed his brainstem and spinal cord. Number 4. Vesna Vulovic. It was 26 days into 1972, when 22-year-old flight attendant, Vesna Vulovic found herself at 33,000 feet in the air and quickly descending to the earth without a parachute. Jet flight Ju-367 had been cruising over Srpska Kamenis, now the Czech Republic, when an explosion occurred. The terrorist group, Croatian National Movement, was named as responsible for the deaths of all but one, and as astonishing as it sounds, VV survived with a fractured skull, 2 broken legs and 3 broken vertebrae, which left her temporarily paralyzed from the waist down. She regained the use of her legs after surgery and continues to fly sporadically. She holds the Guinness World Record for the highest free fall. Number 3. Sil Burries. On the day before the Pelée eruption, Sil Burries was locked in a single cell, partially underground with stone walls, ventilated only through a narrow grating in the door which faced away from Pelée. His prison was the most sheltered building in the city, and it was this fact which saved his life. On the day of the eruption, it grew very dark. Hot air mixed with fine ashes entered his cell through the door grating, despite his efforts in urinating on his clothing and stuffing it in the door. The heat lasted only a short moment, enough to cause deep burns on his hands, arms, legs, and back, but his clothes did not ignite, and he avoided breathing the searing hot air. Superheated steam and volcanic gases and dust, with temperatures reaching over 1000 Celsius, flattened the buildings in the city and the entire population burned or suffocated to death. When I visited beautiful Martinique in 1989, and saw the jail cell, which still stands, Sil Burries was said to be the only survivor, but in fact there was one other man and possibly 2 children. Number 2. Hodges. Sylacauga, Alabama, 1954. While Hodges was napping on her living room couch, a grapefruit-sized meteoroid crashed through her roof and ricocheted off her large wooden console radio, before it struck her on the arm and hip. She was badly bruised but able to walk. The Air Force arrived and took the meteorite from her. Anne's husband, Eugene, hired a lawyer to get it back. Then the landlord claimed it, wanting to sell it in order to cover the damage done to the roof. By the time the meteorite was returned to Anne and Eugene, over a year later, public attention had diminished and they were unable to find a buyer willing to pay much for the 8.5-pound alien chondrite rock. Against her husband's wishes, and donated it to the Alabama Museum of Natural History, where it can be seen today. Number 1. Phineas Cage. On September 13, 1848, Gage, a railway worker, was packing a hole with gunpowder, adding a fuse and sand, and then packing the charge down with a large tapping iron. The gunpowder ignited and the iron bar shot through his left cheekbone and exited out the top of his head, and was later recovered some 30 yards from the site of the accident. Within minutes he was up and walking. He had fungus of the brain. A couple of weeks after, 8 fluid ounces of pus from an abscess under his scalp was released. Damage to Gage's frontal cortex had resulted in a complete loss of social inhibitions, which often led to inappropriate behavior. He was no longer the same Gage that his friends and family knew. Today his skull and the iron bar that shot through it are on display at Boston's Warren Anatomical Museum.